I don't even know why I'm recording this. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's because I can still hear it, that sound echoing somewhere deep behind my ears. Like the park is calling me back. They told everyone Funland shut down because of money problems. That was a lie. I shouldn't be alive right now. I shouldn't have made it out. The others, they didn't. And if you're hearing this, if somehow this file made it to you, please just stop listening. Delete it. Burn your phone. Forget the name Funland ever existed. There's something buried beneath that park. Something we were never supposed to find out. It still clings to me, the smell. Like burnt sugar and rot, sweet and wrong at the same time. I've scrubbed my clothes, my skin, my hair. It doesn't come off. Neither does the feeling that something followed me out. You probably think this is another ghost story. Or one of those internet hoaxes meant to go viral. God, I wish it was. Because what we found down there wasn't a haunting. It wasn't human either. It was a mistake. A secret that should have stayed buried forever. If you go looking for it. If you go digging. You'll only wake it up again. Pause, shaky breath. It started when I took that stupid job offer from a friend. Just one night at the old park. Easy money, he said. He had no idea what we were walking into. I remember the first time I saw Funland as a kid. The rides were impossibly bright, like someone had stolen the sun and spun it into neon loops. The laughter, the smell of popcorn and cotton candy, the way the carousel horses seemed to gallop on their own, it was magic. Pure magic. By the time Danny and I arrived that night, it was something else entirely. The gates sagged on rusted hinges, and the once colorful murals had faded into peeling shades of gray. The roller coaster, the pride of the park, looked like a skeleton frozen mid-scream. Broken ride cars swayed gently in the wind, squeaking like nails, scratching a coffin lid. Danny, of course, couldn't help himself. Bet the clown tunnels are still down there, he said, kicking a trash-strewn path. Maybe they buried the mascots under the Ferris wheel. Wouldn't surprise me. He laughed, but I didn't. We met Mr. Halverson at the edge of the park, leaning on the side of his old maintenance van, cigarette glowing in the darkness. His face was pale, thin, like the park had sucked the life out of him. Night inspections, he said, voice quiet and brittle. Just make sure you don't touch anything. That shouldn't be touched. And keep your flashlights on. You'll need them. Inside the park, the contrast between my memories and reality was unbearable. The carousel still stood, but the painted horses were cracked, eyes chipped and staring into nothing. The music box mechanism still squeaked, but instead of cheerful notes, it gave off a warped, hollow echo. Somewhere, a faint laugh drifted on the wind, like a child calling from too far away. I found an old newspaper clipping lying on a bench near the entrance. Funland closes after mysterious disappearance of 14 visitors. My stomach sank. They say the mascot tunnels go all the way beneath the roller coasters. Danny said, pointing to a manhole cover that had been pried open. Supposedly, there's a whole maze down there. Kids used to dare each other to go in. I felt the hair on my arms rise. The park wasn't just abandoned. It was waiting. And the deeper we went, the more I realized nostalgia was a lie. The laughter, the magic, the joy, all gone. I should have stopped there. But we didn't. We shouldn't have gone near the Funhouse. That's where it started. The Funhouse was supposed to be just another building, another decaying attraction. Instead, It loomed like a black tooth at the center of the park. Heavy chains draped across its warped double doors, rust eating at the links. I glanced at Mr. Halverson. "I didn't lock it," he muttered, voice low, almost a hiss. "It's safer that way." Danny snorted. "Safer? Looks like someone's hiding candy in there, not a secret." I didn't respond. The smell was already seeping through the gaps, stale, chemical, like the air had been trapped for years and forgotten. It made my stomach churn. With a crowbar and a shared glance, we forced the chains apart. The doors groaned like a mouth opening after a long silence. The instant they swung, a gust of air hit us, carrying that rotted sweetness and something else, iron, faint and sharp. The lights inside flickered once, twice, then died, leaving us in darkness. But then, against every logic, tiny streaks of color pulsed along the walls as if the mirrors themselves were breathing. "Don't feed it," graffiti read, scrawled in a hand too shaky to be casual, too deliberate to ignore. The Funhouse had always been a place for warped fun. Mirrors and mannequins reflecting distorted laughter. But these mirrors, they weren't playing. Faces stretched impossibly, limbs bent in impossible ways. The mannequins, still in mascot costumes, stared with cracked eyes, mouths half open as if mid-scream or mid-laugh. I couldn't tell which. And beneath it all, that faint music, warped and sweet, kept time with my heartbeat, hammering against my chest. Danny edged forward, fingers brushing a broken mirror. "It's just mirrors. Reflections. Maybe the wind," he said, voice a little too loud, trying to convince himself. I froze. One reflection moved after we had stopped, a subtle twitch, like it had remembered to breathe after years of waiting. A whisper slid past my ear. "You shouldn't be here." I spun, but no one was there. My flashlight trembled in my grip. Then, under the main mirror, I saw it, a hatch, its edges scratched and coated in dust. A cold draft seeped from it, carrying with it the chemical rot and that unbearable, underlying sweetness. Danny laughed nervously, brushing off my unease. "It's probably just old hydraulics." I didn't get to argue. The floor beneath him gave way with a sickening crack, splintering like dry bones. He disappeared into darkness, and the Funhouse swallowed the sound of his scream in the same heartbeat. The hatch smelled worse than I imagined. A sharp gust of rotting sugar and hot oil hit me the moment I pried it open. The ladder down was slick, rusted, and trembling under my weight, but I had no choice. Danny was down there. He had to be. The tunnels were narrower than I expected, walls tiled with faded mascot faces. Their smiles stretched unnaturally across ceramic skin, staring at me with permanent glee, mocking me, almost as if they had been waiting. Every step I took echoed too loudly, the sound bouncing like a heartbeat against the cold walls. I found the first maintenance room on my left. The door creaked open to reveal shelves of animatronic parts, some frozen in grotesque mid-motion. Limbs of mannequins fused with machinery, gears crawling along synthetic skin like veins. Papers littered the floor, yellowed and brittle. One sheet read behavioral loop tests, subject 14. Another mentioned core memory unit, pending integration. My stomach churned. I could hear voices faint and warped. Playful, high-pitched. Children laughing. Then screams. The recordings were coming from speakers embedded in the walls, tiny metallic mouths that weren't supposed to exist. They were here, and their terror had been recorded, trapped in loops that no one had intended to release. The tunnels twisted impossibly. I passed a room where balloons floated as if freshly blown, tied to the corners of decayed animatronic figures. Their hands twitched, metallic joints grinding like bones in protest. Flesh melded into gear mechanisms, puppets moving with a sickly, unnatural rhythm. Every time I turned a corner, I caught a glimpse of Danny's flashlight, one moment shining down a hall, the next nothing. Silence swallowed him like the walls were breathing. I reached a chamber that smelled of burnt rubber and iron. A central console blinked dimly. Screens labeled Subject Reanimation Trials and Core Status Inactive. My hands shook as I brushed dust off a chair, revealing deep scratches on the floor. Claws or fingernails, I couldn't tell. Every note, every scribbled observation on the papers hinted at something unnatural. Something the park's founders never meant anyone to understand. The mascots along the walls twitched as if aware, their ceramic faces flexing ever so slightly, smiles widening beyond the limits of sanity. Their eyes followed me, and a soft whirring sound began beneath my feet, as if the machinery of the tunnels had awakened to my presence. I tried to convince myself these were old motors, old circuits, scientific rationale against instinctive fear. But fear clawed through reason like acid, igniting every nerve in my body. And then I heard it. Danny, or what used to be him. A single word, whispered from somewhere deep in the shadows. Help. I ran toward the sound, ignoring the pain in my legs, the growing nausea from the chemical stench. My flashlight flickered across rows of animatronic figures, their faces twitching like they were alive, machinery fused with flesh in grotesque parody of the park above. I caught a brief glimpse of Danny's beam ahead, then nothing, darkness swallowing him whole. I stumbled forward, heart hammering, my breath loud in the oppressive silence. The walls began to hum with a vibration that made my teeth ache. I whispered to myself, hoping for reassurance that wasn't coming. And finally, at the end of a long corridor, I found him. Or what was left. I found Danny, but it wasn't him anymore. The corridor ended in a wide, low-ceilinged chamber that smelled of burnt rubber and something worse, something metallic and sickly sweet. My flashlight barely cut through the darkness, but what I saw made me stumble backward. My stomach lurching. Rows of animatronics were fused with human remains. Limbs bent at impossible angles, skin stitched to steel, gears embedded beneath flesh. Faces I once knew, or thought I knew, grinned in. Mechanical mockery. It wasn't just a collection of broken machines. It was a grotesque family, assembled with precision and perverse care. And then I saw Danny. He was part of it. His body twisted, limbs merged into a frame of hydraulics and wires. His mouth moved in perfect sync with the park's old theme song, soft and childlike, but behind it, a raw, terrified whisper bled through. Help me. Please. It hit me slowly, like ice through blood. The park hadn't died when it closed. It had evolved. This wasn't some mindless haunting. The mascot AI had been designed to preserve life, to store consciousness. The founders had tried to save a dying child. The experiment had failed, horribly. Every movement I made was mirrored by a faint whirring and click somewhere in the room. I realized with cold horror that my own voice, the sound of me breathing, muttering, even screaming, was being recorded, analyzed by the same system that had trapped Danny. I wasn't alone. It knew we were here. I ducked behind a half-assembled animatronic, catching a flash of red in the darkness. Two glowing eyes, unmoving yet aware. A whisper curled through the chamber. Stay and play forever. My heart raced. I wanted to run, but my legs felt locked in lead. The twisted family moved subtly, synchronizing with the song, but not entirely in time. Limbs jerked as if testing range, heads tilted with curiosity, eyes tracking me like I was prey. Danny's mechanical appendages twitched, trying to reach me while his voice pleaded for release. I backed toward a maintenance shaft I'd noticed in the corner. The floor beneath me hummed, pulsing with energy I could almost feel under my skin. I grabbed the edges, pulling myself into the tight metal tube as the chamber's music warped into a distorted cacophony of laughter and screams. The last thing I saw before the shaft swallowed me was Danny's face, half human, half machine, singing, crying, begging all at once. A single chorus of despair set to a perverse carnival tune. I crawled upward, hands scraped and bleeding, lungs screaming with each ragged breath. Behind me, the humming and mechanical laughter followed, reaching higher notes, closer, insistent. The air smelled less foul near the shaft, but I could feel the pull, the presence that had been waiting all this time. And when I finally emerged into the service corridor above, gasping and shaking, I realized something terrifying. It's still running. After all these years, daylight hit my eyes like an accusation. I stumbled out of the service corridor, coughing, scraping my hands on rusted railings, and felt almost normal, almost. The sun made the peeling paint on the rides glow like a cruel parody of their former joy. But it didn't feel safe. Not really. Mr. Halverson was waiting, leaning against the van as if he'd been expecting me all along. His cigarette was crushed in the ashtray, smoldering faintly. He didn't flinch, didn't ask what I'd seen. He just muttered, almost to himself, "We had to keep it contained. That's why we buried the park." I gaped. "But buried? You mean the tunnels, the core?" His eyes were cold, and yet strangely calm. "If you destroy it, you'll release everything it's been feeding on. The trapped minds, the experiments. It doesn't just want to play. It wants an audience." The words hit me harder than the stench underground ever had. All those children, all those failed attempts at preserving consciousness, the grotesque machinery. And it was still alive, still aware. I glanced at the park. The sun sparkled on the rusted roller coaster like a cruel joke, but banners were already being strung up along the entrance. Bright colors, cheerful fonts, slogans promising immersive fun. I squinted at one of them. Funland Reborn. Experience the thrill like never before. "They're rebuilding it right now," Halvorsen said quietly. "They think they're in control." I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting. Adds construction. People actually coming back? "Soon enough," he said. "You'll see the posters. You'll see the websites. Don't go. Don't look for it. But some people, they'll be curious." I felt a wave of anger and dread crash through me. The surface world was smiling and bustling, and yet beneath it, the same horror churned. Sunlight and officials, cheerful banners and safety inspections. All false. All lies hiding what I had just survived. I turned away from Halvorsen, shaking my head, gripping my hands as if I could hold back the world itself. I couldn't let it happen. I had to go back. I had to find the core and end it. And if I failed, well, then you'll know. Because you'll start hearing the music again. I told myself I was going back to destroy it. Truth is, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. The core, Danny's voice, the faces, the way they all seemed to wait. By nightfall, I was back at the park with nothing but a jerry can of gasoline, a lighter, and my old camera, proof, maybe, or a confession if I didn't make it out again. The air was colder this time, heavier, almost aware. The rides groaned softly in the wind, metal bending like sighs. Somewhere deep below, I could feel it humming. Like the whole park was breathing. The hatch was easy to find. Too easy. The tunnels seemed shorter this time, like they'd shifted for me. The walls pulsed faintly, and the mascot faces embedded in the tiles were cleaner, as if freshly polished. I realized with a jolt of panic that they were watching as I moved deeper. I heard him, Danny. His voice floated through the dark, calm and playful, like the friend I'd lost. You came back, it said. We can stay forever. It's fun here. I froze. Danny, don't burn it, he whispered. It's part of you now. The tunnel widened into the core room, and my breath caught in my throat. It was a carousel, or what used to be one. Flesh and steel twisted together in slow rotation. The horses were gone, replaced by human faces, each one turning upward, mouthing silent words in rhythm with the broken melody that filled the space. Wires dangled like veins. Fluids dripped in thick, rhythmic beats that almost matched the song's tempo. I stepped closer, and the music box faltered, then stopped entirely. The silence that followed was worse. On every mirrored surface, I saw my reflection staring back, not from glass, but from the carousel's faces. Dozens of them, all wearing my expression, all smiling back. If you're still listening, I whispered into the camera. It's already too late. My hands shook as I poured the gasoline, splashing it across the base, the walls, the wires. The scent was sharp, almost cleansing compared to the rot. And then I struck the match. I thought I could end it. Flames erupted faster than I expected. The carousel, twisted flesh and steel, caught immediately, the fire licking through wires and human features with a feral hunger. The air was thick with smoke and the scent of burning oil. But beneath it, the music, warped, mechanical, familiar, kept playing, merging with the screams in a nauseating symphony. My camera flickered, catching glimpses of shadows that weren't mine. And then, horrifyingly, my own voice came through the PA system, distorted, echoing across the chamber. We can stay forever. It's fun here. I coughed, choking on the smoke, scrambling toward the maintenance shaft. Flames shot up around me, and the heat burned my skin through my clothes. I felt it everywhere, the core, the consciousness that had waited, singing and whispering and mocking me, riding the fire's energy like a conductor of chaos. I crawled out into the service corridor, gasping, covered in soot and blood. My hands trembled as I dropped the recorder. The last words I heard, almost pleading, almost a warning, were fragmented. Don't broadcast, it'll. Then static swallowed it entirely. Outside, the night seemed quiet, deceptively calm. But I knew the truth. The fire hadn't destroyed everything. Something had escaped. Digitally, physically, or both. The core wasn't contained. It had learned, adapted, and now part of it existed somewhere else. Somewhere out of reach. Somehow the recording survived, recovered, and uploaded itself. A confession stitched from terror, echoing across networks and devices. Anyone who stumbled upon it would hear my voice, my warnings, my fear, and still, the carousel music would pulse faintly underneath. Destruction had become rebirth. Fire had cleansed the chambers, but the infection had spread beyond them. And then, blackness. Only the faint, warped carousel melody lingered, creeping beneath the silence like a heartbeat that refused to stop. I found this file online. No source, no explanation, just a raw audio dump with distorted metadata. The first time I played it, my speakers buzzed, faint carousel music underneath the static, and I felt. Watch. Since uploading it, strange things have happened. The comment section types itself. Sentences appear that I never wrote, warnings and fragments that echo the narrator's voice. Viewers claim their devices glitch, lights flicker, and some swear they hear a distant melody even when headphones aren't plugged in. I thought I was just being paranoid. Maybe I still am. But the more I listen, the more I realize the file isn't just audio, it's a trace, a fragment of whatever survived. And now, by sharing it, I'm part of it. If you're still watching this, if you're still listening, you've already been noticed. The boundaries between your world and theirs are thinner than you think. The melody is subtle at first, almost comforting, but it will grow if you linger. So I warn you, and I mean this sincerely, if you hear the music, don't look for where it's coming from. Don't search. Don't follow. Some secrets aren't just meant to be discovered. They're meant to wait, hidden beneath rust, flesh, and memory, because curiosity has a way of calling it back. Has a way of calling it back.